Hello, once again, golf fanatics. Billy Ho is back again. Another PGA preview for you. This time it is the John Deere Classic up in Silvis, Illinois. And we're going to dive into TPC Deere Run, flyover style as always, talk the skills needed to play well here, look at some models, discuss a few players that might look to play well. Hopefully a few low-key guys down there. Pricing is out for the DraftKings contest. Billy Ho's JDC is out. 4th of July. Get it done. Get in that contest. So, also, please subs to the channel. Obviously, need that more than anything. Second place, smashing that like. Third place is leaving a comment. Tell me who you got this week. Do you think you're one of these new up-and-comers going to get after it, or are we going to see one of these old legendary guys like another Lucas Glover type of dude? So, let's go. What I failed to mention first was weather. I always check the weather just to get an idea on what's coming out. I mean, things can change. We obviously have a few days to go. This is Monday. Rain in the forecast as early as Tuesday. So maybe looking at it a little bit of softer golf course. The 4th of July itself, Thursday, round one looks dicey with thunderstorms likely later in the day. So I don't know if it's going to be pushing more toward the PM, like at tail end of the day that might kick a few guys in the afternoon group off the golf course, or if those thunderstorms are going to come in later on, well after round one is over, which would be making a very soft golf course for the AM Tuesday, and where the showers will be lingering then. And then Friday during the day and afternoon could possibly be some winds upward of the 15 to 17 mile an hour sustained type. So we haven't had a real wind-affected tournament here in the last few weeks. So be on the lookout for that for sure. Now, TPC Deere Run, 7,268-ish yards, par 71 track, extra generous bent grass fairways, 4-inch rough, little bluegrass, little fescue, not overly penal, wide open fairways. So if you're over there, you're already doing it wrong. 5,500 square foot greens, pretty generous. Pure L93 bent grass greens that run sort of fast on the stem. So getting into the golf course, the first 6 holes are all dog legs. You got a par 5 early on, second hole that is the biggest eagle opportunity. You got to take advantage. You got to get out of the gate fast or you're in trouble. Holes 4, 5, and 6 are par 4s you can be somewhat aggressive with, but they're not super high birdie percentages. So you can see by the way the course is unfolding, it's going to be heavy on approach. It's a second shot golf course. Accuracy obviously is important, but just get it in the short grass and you're dialing it in. Then you just got to hope for that hot putter. You get through the front 9, then you start off with finish hole number 9 is a beast of a long straight par 4. That's the number 1 handicap on the course. Then you make the turn, and then you got a couple of birdie opportunities. Short par 4, 14th, which could lend to some adjustment in tees and might make that close to drivable one day or two over the weekend. Short par 3, 16th hole, and 17 is obviously another reachable par 5. And then you finish up with the number 2 handicap, par 4, 18th hole, elevated tee, dogleg right, water lurking on your approach to the left. So I like how they made each of the finishing holes, 9 and 18, the 2 hardest. That's always fun, especially on the first couple of days. So you're not looking at a PM guy going, oh, well, at least he doesn't have to play 18, because he's finishing with 9, which is a harder hole. So do your damage on the par 5s, easy par 4s, obviously. Just be in the fairway, dial it in with the wedges, fire at pins, and hope for that hot putter. It helps that these greens are amongst the easiest they'll putt on all year. Pure bent, they roll so soft and pure. Guys like Lucas Glover can putt well here. So as we get into the stat model, Fantasy National, we are going to look at models, players, stats, all that kind of good stuff. We'll finish things off with doing the DraftKings build on the Billy Ho contest. So let's take a look at Fantasy National. All right. Well, looking at the course history, basically, Lucas Glover obviously has always sorted by strokes gained total. With the win, the top 10, he's really, really good here. 31 total strokes. Adam Shank, equally good. Had to withdraw in 2022, but uh, just making cut after cut. He's really coming into his own. This is a tournament that I think he might have a good shot to break through on, especially this week with a little bit weaker field. FYI, Patrick Cantlay has already withdrawn, so he's out. When we look at DraftKings pricing, that's really going to make things interesting. Guys like Ryan Moore, you can see just the ball strikers, ball strikers, ball strikers. Seamus, when he was in his peak in good form, he's a great ball striker. Denny, and obviously the putter comes into play too. Whenever you see Denny way up here, the back-to-back T6s with Denny is major league putting. Alex Smalley, who's somebody who doesn't normally putt well, has got great finishes here too. He's not been in great form lately, but this could be a get right spot for him. Then you got Hubbard. You can just see the usual suspects, the Postons who won here before. Dylon Fratelli, who won this, and who's just a guy who just completely has fallen off the map. He used to at least show up at tournaments once every now and again, but I don't think I've seen him play in a tournament all year long. I think he's just overplaying DP right now. But you can see guys like that, and then I always like to flip it, see who's not playing well here. Okay, Joey B. Bramlett. People like to play him sometimes. Not too many people. Ben Silverman was a guy I was going to mention, but you can see but he hasn't played it since 2019. So a lot of times when you look at these guys, and they ain't played it since they were barely on the tour, or maybe even still amateurs. I wouldn't pay too much attention to either one of these, like from Lindheim or Silverman missed cuts. Now, somebody like Brem, you can pay attention to because he's missed 3 straight cuts 3 years in a row. Brem's another guy. Wesley Bryan showed back up this week. That's just a sighting. He's a guy I would never play anyway. He's just once a year, if he shows up and makes a cut and makes a top 10 or something, then he's fine. He usually makes just enough money to get that conditional status where we'll see him in these types of tournaments. So that's just kind of your rundown on course history. Let's get into the actual breakdown of the golf course, and then we'll get into updated models. This is a course breakdown. Of course, we ran through the golf course, and you got to see it firsthand in the first segment. So you can see how they make their bones, with obviously the big one being the second par 5, 4% eagle rate, 50% birdie rate. Then you're getting an opportunity here to come out with a 1-2 punch, possibly even being 3 under through 3. Make your par here, and then you're 3 under through 3, and then you can try to maybe make 1 or 2 birdies here, and then hold it down across the finish line, and maybe shoot a 31, and then come around, and then maybe go 2-3 under, make a couple birdies coming home, and then you're sitting on a nice 65 round for the day. And that's what I think, to get out of the gate good. I think shooting a 65 on Thursday would be quite comfortable. You can see how you finish up ninth hole, the toughest. Then you got a couple of you got a hard hole mixed in on the front 9, back to back, kind of difficult with the par 4. This is the par 4 short 361 listed, but maybe if they move that tee box up 20 yards, guys are going to be driving this dude. So keep an eye out on that. 35% birdie rate when it's playing 360. So guys can practically drive it, if they get a decent run out, can drive it up close to, a pitch, a little short chip and a putt, basically. So there's the other easy par 5 17th, 2.5% on the eagle rate. And you can see how tough this 476 yard par 4 18th hole is. It claims a lot of bogeys, 21% bogeys. And then I think the second one is 25%, obviously the 9th hole. But you can see not a lot of red dangerous numbers. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes out of the entire 18 that are even in red figures in bogey percentage. So you're talking about an easy golf course here. And you're talking about, no matter where you slice it, it's approach and it's putting. Oh, how did the winners do? approach, and they were a little bit better putting. That's why they won. Top fives, approach and putting. Trunk slammers. Where did they lose? Approach and putting. So let's look for top five players. And then you can see hole by hole. This was the only important things to really look at here are like the hole composition and the approach shot distribution. So you can see this is going to be wedges, 75 to 100, got more than average, a little bit more than average, a lot more than average, less than average, less than average, less than average. So you're talking about pure wedge games here, and it doesn't matter if you're long off the tee or not. You can be too long. The par four bucket is 400 to 450. That's 5 holes. I usually just do like par four scoring by itself when I look deep, when I do deep dives, especially on anything less than a par 72. So this would be a 71. So there's going to be just 3 par fives. And then you have the par threes of 1, 2, 3, 4 par threes. So you got the short par fours and just the one long par four here that's almost 500. So mostly short par fours, wedge game, obviously. Accuracy way up, green regulation way up. Basically, what we're looking at is, like you said, an easy golf course to have to take advantage of. We're probably talking minimum -5, 5 under cut. We got lucky last week, I think 4 under making the cut. That I thought that cut was going to go to 5 under. So moving on to the model. And the model rank, let's see. Aaron Rye, obviously number one. This was just a refined 2024 John Deere Classic. I swapped out like good drives, put in ball striking so I could just have extra approach in here. I didn't weigh any. These are 0%, 0%, 0%. I didn't want to put heavy weight on any of the buckets, even though these are the buckets. I just wanted to see where they line up. I like to see guys that have multiple, because he's 13th, and then he's 7th, and then he's 127th. So you can see the difference between like, okay, so he's really good from 75 to 100. But when you get outside 125 and you get outside to those wedges, then Neil Shipley is not as good. But he's still making birdies and he's still killing par fives. So, just things of that nature is what I like to keep in mind. So, short game overall, I went with instead of just putting or around the green, I combined the two. I thought that was more relevant for me when I pick players. Green and regulation, obviously huge. Birdie or better, DK points, all that good stuff. So if you look at like who won it last year, which was Sepp Straka, Sepp won it last year. We'll go by salary this time around. So Sepp won it last year. Well, Sepp was +5 on approach and +6, or I'm sorry, +6 ball striking. He gained 3 apiece. So 3 off the tee, 3 on approach, +6 ball striking, +6 putting. So he gains 12 strokes. So I'm going to be looking for players that are 10 plus strokes gained on those two combined. So 6, +10 putting and ball striking together. Sounds like a good plan. 85% green and regulation was set. Adam Schenk was a T2. He, like I said, he was really good last year. He was +5 in approach as well. And also gained 6 putting. So when we get into players, you got, like I said, Aaron Rye ranked number 1 in the model. Well, Aaron Rye is technically a debutante. He hasn't played here before, so no course history, even though course history is very sticky. So I'm not sure if it was maybe too conservative or nerves, or he just couldn't get anything going Sunday, but he had every opportunity in the world to win that golf tournament, Rocket Mortgage Classic, and he just could not get it done. And Cam Davis did. Cam Davis gets it done. He's a guy that has won golf tournaments. I believe he was a Rocket Mortgage winner in the past. So that's something you have to consider if you're going to play a guy at 5-digit salary. Does he have the win equity? And then you get guys like Davis Thompson, who's been playing outstanding. This is a tournament he can win. You can see it. All his stats are top 10. This is over the last 4 rounds. So we need to bump that up. I was really doing a deep dive before I came on here. So we'll start at 24. This is almost a little too far back for me because when these easy courses, I like the guys that are in real hot recent form, like last 12 rounds and in. I look at but we'll start here, and then we'll start working our way down the line here. Patrick Cantlay, like I said, has withdrawn. Spieth, I can't. I got notes on him in here a little bit later, so stick around. But you got Rye up here, who's actually third in my. I haven't looked at my mixed condition model yet, but he's third in that model. So if you look at the mixed condition model, I've got the everything set up for last week, so it should be very similar. So it should translate. Last 12 ops gain, last 36 easy courses relative to par. So Gers gain last 36. So all that mixed condition stuff for easy courses translates easily to this golf course. So you can look for guys that show up on both. Obviously, Rye 3-1, very very strong case for him. Mad McNeely's going to get a lot of talk this week. Like this is a course he can win at. You can obviously see in the right categories he's up there. DK points, birdie or better. That's last 24 rounds. That's pretty solid. Then you got Denny McCarthy, who just looks terrible in models, but he's a guy that's going to play well here because he can putt, and he putts really, really well here because it's so easy. And so all he has to do is fire it. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to stick it inside 10 feet to make birdies. He can stick it to 15 feet or roll them in from 20. He can roll them in from 20, 25 feet, no problem on this golf course if he's sitting at the right, if he's pin high or whatever. He's just that much better of a putter than everybody else. Cam Davis has already withdrawn himself, if I'm not mistaken. Keith Mitchell, everything but the putting. He's a little bit Greens Gain challenged here, but you can see the 122 on the short game. That's what's been killing him. He's fifth in both models. So if you really think he's finally going to turn that putter around, then here you go. Get it done. I usually only like him putting on Bermuda, but these greens are so pure bent. I think he could probably handle them just fine. JT Poston has won this. The Postman, I should call him Poston because people call him the Postman. But some of these guys, some serious, serious salary bumps. Luke Clanton, 20 years old. Dude can bomb the shit out of it, but he's only played he's got 8 rounds of golf, and he has played a really great 8 rounds. But that is really pushing it, trusting a guy at 8,600 that you've only seen out on a golf course in 2 tournaments, which is RBC Canadian and last week's Rocket. So you got to take that into account, and you also take into account that it is such a high price that people are going to be playing the shit out of Eric Cole, Mark Hubbard, Seamus Power, way over him, Lucas Glover, and those guys. So he's going to get squeezed. If he's over 5%, I would be mildly surprised on that, unless he's just really catching steam and I don't know about it. But then you got your average Joes down here. Adam Svensson, I don't know. You can't trust the guy till you can, because he's gonna strike the ball well. He's good on approach. He's good ball striking, and he hits a lot of greens, but he doesn't do anything else well. His putter has really, really cost him everything. And guys that really struggle with the putter like that, and we'll just take a quick look here. It shouldn't take long to pull up. Svensson, he is a little bit better on bent grass greens. So if you think he's going to turn it around, like he only did lose 1.4, but you can see if he's not gaining here, if he needs to be like way more, he needs to be 5.4. He needs to be this 4.9, 4.4. That's what he needs to be doing to gain, to be able to make cuts and gain on approach. He can't be average here and then average here, because he obviously misses cuts. He did play well across the board here at Travelers, which is mildly surprising. He must have just had a really good one or two really good days, but he got all 4 rounds in. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that one real quick. There's a tons of other guys that I wanted to talk about in here, like Davis Thompson is one of them. He's been really knocking on the door, obviously second in the model. He's scoring DK point. He's a good DK play, I think. 96 is a little tall. So you're going to have some decisions to make in here probably through this mid nines range. Obviously not this guy. You watch him come out and win it. He's just such a I need to make my list of guys that I never, ever, ever play and just stick to those, because I believe there was a name, Alex Noren, last week. It's a guy I just don't play. It's not that I don't like to play him. I don't play Alex Noren. And I fell into the trap last week, played Alex Noren, and then it cost me actually I ended up with 4-6. So I thought it was going to cost me 6-6. The guy was 2 under going into the back nine, and he finished +2 at the Rocket Mortgage. So that tells you all you need to know. So guys in this range, Sam Stevens is just overpriced. He's got to show me he can close a little better. I mean, if we look at his numbers, obviously everything's going to be clicking. But look, he's not really crushing it on approach where you need to be. Look, none of these, the approach numbers are not there. He made 10, he finished 10th at Rocket, gaining 5.7 with the putter. So he's a guy, if he's got steam at all, he'd be an easy fade for me at 9K. Down here a little further, I'm definitely back in on Lucas Glover. He's definitely struggled. Obviously, he's had putting woes over his career. But he is a guy who typically doesn't, like, he's due for positive regression. Like, look, 6.8 to Charles Schwab. As long as he's this right around 0.4, that things of that nature, and he's not 3.6, we can deal with Lucas Glover because he does this 6 on approach, 3.2 on approach. But we can't have this. He's missing the cut if he does this. But that's the U.S. Open. This is the Memorial. These are easier golf courses. Oh, and by the way, he's got Deere love. So look at all the strokes. He's had one bad year, and that could have been the year he was having spousal trouble and all that. We don't know. But 7 strokes, 7 strokes, 7 strokes. He's gaining putting. As long as he's not getting killed like this, he's making the cut. So roll the dice, I guess, because if he does show up with another -4 like he did at Travelers, you're going home. So watch the ownership on him probably. More guys. Denny, obviously he's going to be in play for me. He needs to be probably 4 strokes or better putting. If not, he needs a small gain on approach, because that's how Denny gets it done. Eric Cole is back. I like Eric Cole. I'm back in on him this week. Definitely showing that putters come back around. Because he was just, earlier in his run, he was making everything. Like, he could just make putts all day long. And then he went through this streak where he was losing, and he had a bad streak of probably right around Valspar where he was not gaining and losing strokes putting. And then so he's starting to round it back up a little bit. The 7 off the tee is definitely alarming. He's not good off the tee. So if he can just keep it between the lines this time around, like he did here, and gain 1 stroke, and if he can gain 3, he can gain a little bit of approach. That's just gravy for him. He can definitely gain more than that. He's a guy there for a while back in the year that was rolling the rock, 3.5 and 6.3 and things of that nature. So he might be due for something like that. Oh, this is the guy I definitely wanted to mention, and Pat Mayo's already mentioned him. I should have known he wouldn't go overlooked. Is Joel Damon? Where are you? Stand up, Joel. I thought he was 7,100. So bear with me a second. Damon. Matt Damon. There he is. 7,300. My bad. But look at the numbers on the ball striking and approach in the last 24. He is just way up here. And then in Green's gain, just not making the birdies because his short game's terrible. But then we go and look at his recent form. And he is, like I said, the irons and the ball striking. If he's gaining 5 with the ball striking, he did lose 1.7 putting at Rocket, but he gained 4.3 at Canadian, and he does have some decent vibes here putting in the past. But he's a guy that's just in really good form and a guy that's looking to make a mark somewhere along the way. And this is the place for him to do it. I think, of course, he can handle. He's not long off the tee, but he's extremely accurate. He's extremely good with his proximity numbers. I like the guys that are in here. He's got second here, then 20th, and then drops to a 62 as things get a little further away from him. But I think if he improves the birdie or better, he's going to have a shot to compete here. More guys down the line. This was a little area that I'm going to be dialed in on pretty much. Is Dylan Wu. I should have gone back to him last week. He came through in a big way. He's a guy that's really good, similar to Damon, but he's a better with the short game. He's just been a little bit off with the longer irons. So if we want to take this up here and go, all right, well, let's last three. Let's see what we're working with here. So this whole level, I'll bring up a guy here that's really important in just a second. But Troy Merritt's in this range. Keep playing Troy Merritt. +4 on approach, +2.5 putting. That was really good. And then let's get down here to where we were before. And we were right around Damon. Of course, Brendan Todd. He's a guy that's been struggling, but could be a good course fit. But there's Damon. So he's 11th in the mixed conditional model. He's up to 4th. So you can see he's gotten a little bit better with the birdies and just a touch better, with the short game. But that's a really good stat profile for a 7,300 golfer. Then you have guys down here a little bit lower. Dylan Wu, I just mentioned. He's got the 16th in short game his last 12. Par fives are looking pretty good. He's just really steady with the irons. I mean, he's not overly impressive, but he's just very consistent. So, he doesn't blow you away in the opportunities gained category, but he will make a lot of pars and avoid a lot of bogeys. So that's why his DK points maybe aren't stellar, but he's a good cut maker, I think, for this event. Of course, Jake Knapp, people are talking a lot about him and all these guys. CT Pan would be a great course fit here. I have not really checked in on CT Pan in a long time, and this video might be a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I thought I'd talk more golfers and show you more golfer stat profiles this time around and give you more critical thought as I've been warned about. So RBC Canadian. So a little bit better, but nothing to be like overwhelmed about. But CT Pan is a guy that can play. And Zach Johnson would be a cut maker. He's just always played well here. And he's been in pretty decent form this year. I don't know how far down you want to go into the 6. You definitely can get into some 6K action. And we aren't going below 6K here. So you can forget about that, love. Now, up here is the guy, David Skins. And not a guy that I would be super like touting or anything, but a guy you saw compete earlier this year in tournaments and almost won. And I want to say, I don't know if it was Amex, but he was in it, Houston Open, in it at the Classic. That must have been the one I was thinking of. So he has competed when he's got the putter firing. 7.3 putting, 6.4 putting. So he's pretty just steady Eddie on the rest of the stats, but those were pretty decent field events there. But you can see if he actually hits some approach shots, he doesn't need to be fire on a putter. So 7 on approach and 4. So if he could keep the approach game rolling, absolutely in play to be competitive this week. So David Skins is on my radar. Not too many more below that. Troy Merritt, like I said, once again, he's down here. I almost went Vince Whaley, but I don't know if he can do it twice in a row. I think he had a pretty decent week. But if you get further down, there's the guys I start looking for. Bryce Garnett, that's pretty high for the last 12 rounds, 7th in the mixed condition. He can hit the approach shots. He's gaining on greens. This is what you got to worry about, short game. So Bryce Garnett, real quick before we move over. Just see where he's at. I like to see where they're at on the surface. So if they got a little bit of positivity on the bent, then I'm pretty good there. Definitely a better win player. which some of his best results have been in those coastal like Bermudas where it's just the wind blows, but the course is still easy. So you can see how he's missed his last two cuts. Just the approach game, he needs to be 6. Bryce Garnett's specialty is hitting a good approach shots. He needs to be 6. He needs to be 5. He needs to be plus. That's why these finishes are not good. So even if he is positive with the putter, he's not getting there because he won Puerto Rico, and I bet you go look at his stats, and he's probably plus 4 putting and plus 4 or 5 on approach. So, like I said, the guy wins he's really good in these coastal type tournaments. So that's where he gets a little bit of the wind love. Bryce Garnett, nobody will play him. Carson Young disappointed me. He did try to rally to make the cut, but he did fall a little bit short. Somebody that fell a little bit short, and then I know showing up in people's models left and right, and he's actually not even cheap. Chan Kim, who's number 1 in my mixed condition model over the last 12 rounds. And the mixed condition model is its own animal. It's got 36 and but easy courses, number 1. Then he's 5th in the model rank for the last 12. And you can see all his stats across the board, except for the short game. He's just a god awfulest putter. So if you think, well, this is super easy to putt here, and it's definitely guys that are prone to putt better that are terrible putters. You can see how bad his putter is there, where he's losing all the way down the line. But the guy's a good player. He's gaining on approach. That's in 2 rounds. That's in 2 rounds. That's in 2 rounds. So, and he's pretty average off the tee. So if he can just put a decent ball striking round together like he did at Valero and then just putt even, he finishes 14th. He finished 6th at Corrales. So he's been decent, 8th in Mexico because he gained 5 putting. So he's a guy that can play these easy golf courses, 14th at Amex. So a guy that I might have on my radar, depending on if he gets any own. He shouldn't get any ownership at 7K, be honest with you. So he's another guy. Another dude that I thought was interesting, then we'll pan back up here, was Bo Hostler. And he's a guy, I should say, first off, that I don't normally play. I don't play Bo Hostler, but if you play Bo Hostler, he might be in the realm where you can see his proximity numbers from 1 to under 125, not good. And the greens and regulation are suffering probably before that. Terrible ball striking. So he doesn't fit here at all, but he can putt. So if he just gets his shit together one week, he might be a guy that's in play, but he's not. He lost 3.5 putting last week, gained 4 on approach in his last golf tournament. So that's what's encouraging, is that he got the +4 on approach, and he actually lost 3. He did as it's something he was good at. All right, getting down a little further. So there's a guy that I wanted to show you that I will maybe finally take a chance on, and it's Kevin Yu, 13th in the model. God awful. This is why you don't play Kevin Yu, because he just, no matter how good he strikes it, he'll just put you right out of the golf tournament, and that's pretty much what's happened to him. And he is Kevin Yu. That's what's happened to you. -3, -5, almost 2, 4-3, 6-8. Oh, look, 1-1. Maybe he's coming around. Maybe he can just only putt to, 0 or -1.8. -1.8 is acceptable if he actually gains on approach. If he can get up here around this 2.5 and 5.3 on approach, then he's back in business, because he's not super long off the tee. I think he's like, oh, well, no, he is. That's right. Kevin Yu. I was thinking I got the wrong U's. So not super accurate, but long off the tee, hits a lot of greens. So it's pretty much comes down to putting for a guy like that. Like I said, take a chance on him. +8. He gained 8 strokes putting here in 2023 last year. That was the stat I was looking for that I didn't show you. I can show you. It won't take a second. But I thought that was really neat. I'm sitting there saying how bad a putter he is, and then you go check him, and he's gained 7.9 strokes putting in a T6 last year. So a little off the tee, just muddling everywhere else. If he's got the good feels here, then that's a window. Definitely going to be looking for ownership on that one. So, couple of other guys, that Luke Clanton, 8,600. Like I think I did mention him. He's only got 8 rounds. I think 6,300 was David Lipsky, who's a guy that fits this course. I think he was popular at Canadian Open, and he was terrible. But he's the kind of guy, 27th in the model for a $6,300 player, not bad. So he's, obviously he's going to have the opportunity, but can he make a putt? That's going to be his problem. So that's the risk you got to take with these guys down here. But Lipsky's a guy that I'd be interested in down low. Other lineup notes, Jordan Spieth. Let's go back up here and look at Jordan Spieth for the stat of the day on him. 141 in short game. He is almost the worst. So almost the worst. So he's in the top 10 worst in this entire field. And you got guys like Tom Whitney and Paul Barjon and Blaine Hale and Gutchowski. So, guys like that, that's no good. A guy that we used to say could chip in and putt from anywhere on the golf course, and he's that terrible. Maybe he's coming back to a happy place. Maybe he's not. But his ball striking's kind of been there. We just want to take a real quick look at Spieth. Actually, except for Traveler, as soon as I say that. But the previous tournament was the U.S. Open. I knew he played good there. He just lost 6 strokes, 7 strokes putting, which is pitiful. So I was going to look at his Deere stats, and but he hasn't played here since 2015. But that he was winning every single tournament that you put in front of him back then, majors, masters, everything. So these are two guys. It's going to be real tough to get there to be splitting these guys. So if you go over here, we're going to go look at the contest now, and we'll make it a little bigger so we can see what we're doing. Go even bigger. But they haven't been updated yet, but Cantlay is withdrawn. So you can, if you want to draw a line through Spieth, the first thing you can do is decide whether or not you want to fade the 10K range. Sep, M, and Rye. Those are all 3 acceptable plays. They all 3 ranked super high. Straka and M both have win equity. So you're easily able to start with one of these guys and get another 9K. Then you got all these 9Ks. But one possible build that I thought about was going right straight for the 8K range, and then taking like either Glove or Kevin Yu to take a chance on one of those 2 guys. But Cole and Hubbard. Oops, not Power. I mean, you could play Power, but Hubbard was the one I was thinking of. And actually, Seamus, I did not look at Seamus. I will dig into Seamus and see how he fares, because he made 20 birdies in an eagle. So he can score when he gets rolling on these easy golf courses. I think he won the golf tournament. He won was the one here in Kentucky, Barbasol. So he's a guy that can make a lot of birdies in these birdie fests. So even if you wanted to look at him or Glover, I originally thought of Glover. Then you got your 3 8K guys. Then if you want to go down here, like I said, and look for a couple of lowercase guys, we'll say a couple 7Ks, like I mentioned Dylan Wu, and I mentioned how much I like Joel Damon. And then you got, that just gives you 10K on the nose. Now you can wheel it and deal it any way you want. You can play Troy Merritt on one of these 2 and pick up enough salary to get up to a M or Straka, whichever one you want to do. And then all of a sudden you've got, or you can just leave money on the table and crank out one of these guys, Davis Thompson, or, anybody down here, or mix and match, or one way or the other. No problem with that at all. Or if you like going up top and you think, well, he won last year, he's due to win any tournament now. Now we're 7,400, so we're kind of compromised. But we can go all the way down here and find David Lipsky and just take a chance on Lipsky. Now you're right back up in the mix. And then you can go grab your Dylan Wu or your Joel Damon, and you're right back up into the 8K range. So you can get into your Hubbards or whoever. There's Shank, who has win equity. And now all of a sudden you're going to have two uppercase guys, and you could completely skip the 8K and 9K range. That's a unique build. Nobody will be doing that. And this is a tournament you could probably get away with it, but you can hit that other 8K guy with a Hubbard or a Cole or whoever. Because I don't use all my salary, but you can do a Hubbard, and then you got 100 on the table. So things of that nature is what I'm looking at. So let's go ahead and stop in here and get after it. This is an important week for a lot of these players, getting down to the nitty gritty for the FedEx playoffs coming up. So these guys want to make the field, at least get into the first one. And then because the cut gets harder and harder this time around, because I think it starts with 70, then it goes to 50 or something like that. It's not 125 or something like that. But anyway, it's a good opportunity to grab a win and then get that tour card locked up for a lot of these guys. And DFS wide open for stacked leaderboard for sure. Look for a 5 cut. Best of luck this weekend. See you soon.